Here I am at the Budapest bus station going to Belgrade. It's about a 6-hour bus ride, going to be there a week. Planning to go to, well, Belgrade, obviously staying there. Taking day trips to Novi Sad, a few other close by areas for a little hiking. See what we can get into. Should be a good time. I got a Flixbus. Well, I paid on Flixbus, then it said it's going to be not Flixbus branding. So, see what happens. So I made it to Belgrade just fine. Actually very pleasantly surprised. The bus arrived early. When I checked before I left, it said that it would take like 7+ hours. And the original ticket said 8:30 to 2:30, so I thought, oh, okay, whatever. You know, I thought to my trips in Turkey on a bus where they all took like an hour or two longer than advertised. But yeah, this driver was quick, even with a stop in Novi Sad to drop people off. Still made it here 20 minutes ahead of schedule. So supposedly the public transportation in Belgrade is free. I really hope it is. I googled it, and then at a truck stop, one of the other guys on the bus was talking about getting around town, and he was asking for an ATM. He was like, oh, I assume I have to pay for the bus. And I said, well, I just googled it. It turns out that it's free as of this year. So he was like, oh, great. Yeah, so hopefully it is free. Otherwise he'll be like, man, that guy's full of shit. Also, I don't have any cash, so I hope if either is free or can accept touch to pay or card. There we go. There's Belgrade. There's the tram right there. It's an old looking tram. Looks cool. What about the red one? The green guy there. This is the inside of the train, or the tram. Really old. I mean, really quite old. But it works. It does the job. We got about a 30-minute ride into the city center where I'm going. It's either that or it was like a 15-minute drive, the Yandex. And I was surprised, usually Yandex is pretty cheap. Or like, we're a place where Yandex is, not to sound like a, you know, rich asshole, like, oh, these countries are so cheap. But the Yandex ride was still about 10 USD, like around 950 Serbian dinars. So I was a little surprised, but then I saw these trams and I was like, oh, I want to get a ride on the tram. So we're doing it. Seeing the city by tram. So going across the Most Nadi now. Kind of the main, major, huge bridge landmark in Serbia. Belgrade, excuse me. I have this car all to myself. I could be the most obnoxious YouTuber I want, even though I don't really consider myself a YouTuber, since I only have like 20-something followers. But I just wanted to check out the old school driver station right here. Okay, well, I may have just done and said all that in a fucking time warp because the camera settings were off. But there's a bunch of being developed, well, I hope all this wasn't messed up. A bunch of being developed apartment blocks there, like dozens. So we're going right into the city center now. These old trams are great. I love them. But yeah, so hopefully people don't think of Serbia as like Eastern Europe from Euro Trip.
Sweet mother of God. We're in Eastern Europe.
It doesn't really look like that. You know, maybe when that movie came out in 2005 or 6. Not sure exact year, but I know the song pretty well.
Scotty doesn't know. Scotty doesn't know.
It looked like that, but not really anymore. So this is the assembly hall, like the parliament for Serbia, right in downtown here. It's closed off with tents, so I wonder if there's some event or parade, something going on. Yeah. So far enjoying Serbia. The weather's nice, nice buildings, just very, very quiet and calm city. So let's explore more. Planning to go to the old fort on the river now. Little military museums and stuff there, so it should be cool. This is Republic Square, statue of Prince Mikhail. That is the National Museum of Serbia. Just lots of outdoor open restaurants and cafes. Very, very nice. This is the vibe I wanted after India, so really glad I picked this as my next destination. So let's keep walking. Really, really beautiful area. You can see the fort right up there. So right now it's like the northwest of the city, or like center part of the city, but like northwest, east side of the city, northwest side of the east side of the city. I'll point out a map to show what I mean. But yeah, so right beyond the other side of this is going to be the riverbank. So this is supposed to be a really nice area to walk around, check out. I mean, the weather's really nice. Really enjoying it. Very quiet. So here's the river. There's the bridge I came across, so I pointed out. This is the fort. And there is the Western Tower, very famous landmark, very famous brutalist structure. I'll go closer to it, but very famous. There's a Western Tower, or Western Gate, excuse me, an Eastern Gate into the city. So there's a few brutalist landmarks I want to check out while I'm here. But yeah, really just nice, pleasant hillside view. I was just down there. See more of the fortress here, looking out over the river, and the two rivers meet here. So this was a very strategic positioning of the fort to be able to see what was coming down the river from all directions. So here's the meeting of the Sava River and the Danube, and yeah, you can see all the layered defenses down here. So on these rivers as well, don't know if you can really see, there's a number of like restaurants. There are also a bunch of floating nightclubs. It's a like famous thing in Serbia, or in Belgrade. So who knows? Maybe we'll go to some floating nightclubs. So Belgrade supposedly has the honor, if you want to call it that, of being the most conquered city in the world. Supposedly like over 100 times. And when you read the history of Belgrade and this fortress, the first ruins of it are from like the 3rd century BC. So, I mean, reading the history of Belgrade is like a who's who of conquerors. You've got it started out with Celtic tribes that moved down here. Then it talks about the Dacians, the Thracians, the Romans, some others, the Avars, the Goths, the Huns, some Turks, later on the Ottomans. Before that, you know, Byzantines, the Romans thrown in there, Eastern Romans, Western Romans. You know, the border of the East and West Roman empires was in this region, a little bit to the west of here. Then getting closer to modern times, Austria, then became Austria-Hungary, and just multiple times in World War One, you know, fighting World War One, the wars between the Balkan Wars in the late teens and 20s, then you got World War II, then you've got fighting in, you know, in the 90s, the breakup of Yugoslavia. I mean, this was just, you know, very tragic history of this city. And it's such a beautiful area too. I mean, right on the Danube and right on the Sava rivers. So, I mean, really just a nice, pleasant area. I mean, really great climate, beautiful region. But I mean, it makes sense. It's, you know, this area is kind of where a number of empires just naturally converged. So, unfortunately, it makes sense that there's a lot of fighting here over the centuries. So there's a tower here right on the corner. You can go up. It's like 100 dinars, so like $1. So you get a view of the whole area, and you can really see, I mean, maybe kind of tough to see, but like really far. I mean, you can see all the way to the horizon. You know, you can see mountains in the distance, so dozens and dozens of miles. Really commanding view of central Serbia. So yeah, definitely more and more understanding why they build a big fortress here. You can shoot some archery. If you want. Here in the main courtyard of the fortress. Very nice to walk around. In the middle of the fortress there's a military museum. Starting out, I think this is like a FT Renault. Oh yeah, there you go, 1917. I only know that. I don't know World War I tanks so well, but I know that because of Battlefield 1. Then we got a little tankette. God, that's so tiny. That's such a little guy. Then we got some other guns. We got a gun carrier, armored car. Again, something that looks way bigger when you see it like in movies and games. Got another tank up here. We got a Panzer II, and then we got a big flak gun here. That's a 10.5 centimeter. I thought it was an 88, but it's bigger. Oh yeah, let's go. Oh, some big cannons, big boy, big mortar there. Or is that? That's not a mortar, is it? I don't know. I know it depends. Cannon, howitzer, mortar. It changes by the angle that it shoots at. So I don't know. Maybe that is a. We'll see. Maybe it says. I don't see. But here, with the S175, I want to say the SA3. Real ones, remember when I was in Kazakhstan, I went over how the back part of it breaks off when the missiles shoot. We got some more tanks down here, some more artillery pieces. Oh yeah, that's well. I think I would have really struggled if I'd been a tanker back in the day. I mean, I probably would have struggled, still struggle now. 6'1", and these things are not built for comfort, and they're definitely not built for tall people. So Stewart, got a little American guy. You know, you're gonna get a mix of weapons here in Serbia from different eras, especially because post-World War II, a lot of people confuse socialist with Soviet, and Yugoslavia was only Soviet aligned on issues that benefited them. They were famously kind of between the Soviets and NATO, the West. So, you know, they received different weapons from different sides. They had their own defense industrial base. You know, for example, after World War II, the Air Force flew P-47s, but then, you know, later on they're flying MiGs. So they've just had a mix throughout time, basically whatever benefited them. See a Yugoslavian tank. You know, there were signs that said don't climb on the museum pieces, but you see lots of people climbing on the museum pieces. So yeah. Okay, 5.7 anti-tank gun, very popular, very ubiquitous. What do we got here? It's an older Soviet tank. Oh, almost fell. Yeah, I got a T-34 and a Katyusha. I realized I missed the military museum. It was, well, I started to walk, and there were some like dinosaur statues there. I think beyond them was the military museum, but decided to pay. I was like, I don't really want to pay just to walk around some dinosaur statues in a park. So that's okay. Might come back. Came through Serbia on a train once before, and I had like a layover on trains here, stop over for hours, and I went to the Air Force's museum here. So that's okay. I'll survive. Who knows, maybe I'll come back for it. Walking out now, back into the city. Ooh. So here's a statue of Gavlo Princip. He was living in Belgrade before he went to Sarajevo and shot Archduke Franz Ferdinand in 1914. And you know, people say he was a Serbian nationalist. I was listening to a good podcast called The Rest is History. They did a really good bit on the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the start of World War I, and they talk about Gavlo Princip quite a bit. And really, he was more of a South Slav nationalist, so what would become Yugoslavia, according to their research. And from what they were saying, it makes sense, since, you know, at the time, you know, the modern countries that are here, sure, they were the regions, but they weren't quite what we see of them as them today. So he was living in Belgrade. He was born in a small town, not here in Belgrade, but went to school here, went to university here, worked here, joined the Black Hand here, and then traveled to Sarajevo to do the shooting. And the building of this statue was rather controversial, as it kicked off the First World War. But yeah, it's just right here in downtown Belgrade, just a block or two away from the destroyed Ministry of Defense, or the Army headquarters. So here's the old general staff in the Army headquarters buildings. They were bombed in the '99 NATO bombing campaign against Serbia, and they've been left destroyed, partially as a memorial, but supposedly not supposedly they did, like, decide they were going to develop it, and they, you know, set up, not really a competition, whatever you want to call it, but basically Trump won the contract, and they're going to build like a Trump Tower, Trump Hotel here, and there were massive protests against it. You know, some were protesting that they didn't want this to become, they didn't want to turn, you know, what was a destroyed building by NATO into, you know, a capitalist hotel, whatever you want to call it. Others were angry because they see it as kind of kowtowing to Trump. So nobody was happy about about them selling it. So I think it's been kind of put on pause for now, but we'll see what happens in the future. So there's a nice hotel a couple blocks away, and this big Orthodox church. It's really, really great in the sunset. Really beautiful stones in the light. Just a nice chill park, lots of people walking, see dogs running around. There was a little playground for lots of kids. Just a nice park, you know? You got some of the old trams there chilling. Yeah, just a nice area. That was the Church of Saint Mark. Don't have any service right now, so I couldn't look up like the history for you. But as you can tell inside, it was very, very new and fancy. So yeah, probably just built in the last few decades. Walking around now in the west side of the river, or the west river bank, called New Belgrade, Novi Belgrade. And there's a little bit of American soil here, so just remember, if you watch my other videos, Western fast food chains are considered American soil. So if you're on a run from the cops, if you need a new passport, just come to McDonald's, Burger King, Starbucks, we'll get what you need. Walking down New Belgrade, and this is the Palace of Serbia. It houses many different government ministries. Yeah, big building, big open courtyard, some nice fountains. It's always classy when there's fountains. And this says Republika Serbia. So this building here, Shandong High Speed Group, and there's a statue of Confucius. Did not expect to see this in Serbia. Very interesting. Well, I know China's investing a lot in the area. Interesting to see. Walking to a neighborhood in New Belgrade. I was about to cross the street back there, but then I looked over and I was like, oh, what's that? A big marble with statue memorial. And it says 1941, 1945. The name of this park I saw on Google is Aviation Park, but it doesn't look like those are aviators. The people down here are carrying a big sword. Up there, it's like a woman. I'm trying to see. The sun's really, really bright. Yeah, it's like farmers and workers. And this says Palim u Narodnoj Revoluciji, 1941, 1945. Then Grabani Zemuna, 1954. So maybe built 1954. But yes, clearly a Second World War memorial. And if you're thinking, oh, Belgrade looks very Soviet, I could see that. They were socialists, you know, Yugoslavia was socialist, but they weren't Soviet. It's a point of pride among among the former Yugoslavia countries that they were never Soviet aligned. You know, they would accept help when they could. If the Soviets wanted to help them, they would say, oh, okay, you know, give us weapons, material, financial support, whichever. But then when they would start to dictate policy, they would then go to, you know, the Western Europe, the US, and be like, oh, maybe you guys want to help us. And then if they helped them, but again, as soon as they start trying to be like, oh, maybe you guys should do this or that, you know, they kind of go back and forth. It's not really flip-flopping or waffling. Joseph Tito wanted to remain as sovereign as he could, and not necessarily align. You know, he was playing both sides, so that he always came out on top. That was really the best way to think of Tito. very pleasantly surprised with New Belgrade. The Zamoon neighborhood's where I'm at right now. Very pleasant, very nice to walk around in. Definitely what you think of when you think of like old Europe, you know, old European, Central European architecture. I mean, maybe there's a little Japanese mural there for the restaurant, but still cool. Just another cute side street in New Belgrade. I definitely didn't expect this. You know, you just, when you look whatever at pictures, videos, Belgrade, it always shows the brutalist architecture. So it's really cool to see that, you know, this area architecture survived and is like the, you know, hip happening place, so it's kept in good working order. Here's the Gardos Tower in Zamoon Neighborhood. It was built 1896 to commemorate 1,000 years of Hungarian rule. So we can climb up there and get a better view. Now on top of the Gardos Tower, you can see this is Novi Belgrade. That is the kind of western gate into the city. Maybe just because we're like kind of lined up with it, but there's the main bridge. Way in the distance, you can see is like the eastern gate of the city, those three big apartment buildings. And then also like kind of right below it is the old fort where we were yesterday, and then there's an island right here as well. But yeah, so I was just walking along right there. Yeah, Zamoon's a really nice area to walk around in. So this area, this was built on a fortress that was completely destroyed by the siege of Belgrade in early 1500s between, well, by the Ottomans. Yeah, and they built the tower here. It's a really nice, beautiful area. Great views.
Блин, еды нет.
So after a long day walking, got like probably 20,000 steps. Got a nice view of some trash. Here at the Pivocatia. I got what's says it's a wheat beer, but it's like a wheat IPA. So it's a craft bar. It's mostly IPAs, a couple red IPAs, one lager, one wheat beer. But yeah, in this little, there's a few bars and restaurants and shops in this little neighborhood. Didn't expect it, but not a bad place for a beer. So I'm hanging out here in New Belgrade. Got the socialist apartments, but then a G-Wagon. And G-Wagon is parked just a little bit away from the western gate of Belgrade, also called the Gen X Tower. Very famous building here in the city. I'm gonna get a little closer, tell you the history of it, but one of the most iconic buildings in Belgrade. This is the western gate of Belgrade. Mentioned a few other times where I was at, but very famous brutalist architecture, very famous building built in the late 70s. The left side are apartments, people live there. The right side were offices, now empty. On the top was a rotating restaurant. It was never opened. Place, it's very famous, criticized. Some people think it's ugly. Regardless, it's very famous. There's a few other YouTubers, most notably Vagabond. He actually like goes in here and goes around. There's like abandoned offices, and it's like the people quit work just yesterday. But it's a very famous landmark here in Belgrade.